Hello and welcome. On this week's edition of the program, we speak with the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Mr. David Paradang, as he lets us into the circumstances leading to his appointment as the 13th boss in the history of the service by President Goodluck Jonathan on June the 10th, 2013. How has he been able to meet the mandate of the President, which is restructure, re-engineer and transform the Nigeria Immigration Service to be better positioned for efficient and effective service delivery? What is the service doing about the security challenges experienced in the country with regards to immigration? Not forgetting the business of keeping the staff of the NIS well catered for in terms of training and indeed motivation. And what do we expect as Nigerians to see from the federal government's approval for the creation of additional border posts and the establishment of Border Patrol Corps? We'll find out these issues and more in the course of this special interview with our guest, who hails from Plateau State. I am Ayotunde Balogun, and it's question time. Mr. David Paradang, you're welcome to Question Time.
Thank you very much, Ayo. It's my pleasure receiving you to the Nigeria Immigration Service.
First of all, let me congratulate you on your new appointment as the Comptroller General of the NIS, of course, that's the Nigerian Immigration Service. Now, perhaps we can start off by, looking, into some of the chain of events, that led to your rise as the head of the service. Maybe we should start with that.
In 2013, there were some changes that came up the early part of the year. The sitting Comptroller General of Immigration, Mrs. Rose Uzoma, MNI, retired of service, and an acting Comptroller General in the person of Alhaji Rilwanu Bala Musa, MNI2, was appointed, pending when a substantive Comptroller General will be appointed. And government in its wisdom decided that on the 10th of June, they would appoint me as the Comptroller General of Immigration. And that's how the chain of events that led to my appointment came to be.
Now, before we move too far, many have described your recent appointment as a result of, a wave of retirements that swept through the Nigerian Immigration Service. From what you've observed, how do you intend to cope, with the fresh hands, if you like, that are now on board?
Government knows exactly what it wants when they appoint somebody. And not that we have new hands that are coming from space or from somewhere else, but these are officers that have served the better part of 30 years in immigration service. So you cannot actually say they are fresh hands in immigration service. They are just new to the positions they have. They are people that have gone through all the details of immigration service, and we think they are well qualified to give immigration a new lease of life and point it in the right direction.
Now let's look at the issue of the personnel within the NIS, the Immigration Service. Now, you mentioned a while earlier, that yes, personnel, staff of the Immigration Service are actually well paid. But aside that, do you see challenges in their day-to-day running of their activities? And if so, how do you intend to better their lot?
Sincerely, the success of any strategy depends on people. And if you don't get that aspect of it right, the whole process will be bungled. We realize that it is quite important to have staff that are well trained and are well motivated, know what they are doing, so that they can deliver on border patrolling. What we decided to do initially is to ask the Honorable Minister to allow us redirect our staff to bring up a focus, they bring up a group within the service, not that we are bringing in new people, to bring a group that will be kitted separately, that will be trained separately, totally dedicated to border patrolling. And graciously, he has allowed us to have a border patrol corps. That is in itself is not enough. We have to train them appropriately. And I want to tell you gladly too that we are getting enough help from partners. We have, just a week ago, the Kofi Annan Institute in Ghana allowed us to train 150 people in border patrolling. The U.S. Embassy too has given us opportunity to train people on border patrolling. We have from IOM too, they have given us just this past month, we are telling them that this is what we want to do, border patrolling. And we are sending people to Gaza for the real physical training in border patrolling. So we need to develop capacity for the men that will man our borders. But that is not enough. You did mention whether payment is enough, but somebody has to be assured that if anything happens to him, what will happen? Where will I go? We want to bring up a sector-specific insurance policy for people in border patrol corps, so that they will give their best to this Republic of Nigeria.
Let me still take you back to the humble beginnings of your rise to the post as Comptroller General. Now, before now, we know that you were the Assistant Comptroller General State Coordination. That's in the Directorate of Operations and Passports at the service headquarters. Now, how would you describe, the zeal or the desire to transform, the issue of passports and other traveling documents? How do you intend to have better services for Nigerians in that area?
You rightly said that it was the last point that I got here was Assistant Comptroller General, State Coordination, but the history goes way beyond that, a little bit further on. And if you have the time, I can give you a just short background of how it has come to be, and maybe it will point us to what we expect. I started as an immigration officer, a young officer, Assistant Superintendent of Immigration in 1982. And in Kano, I started. From Kano, I came to Lagos. From Lagos, I went to Ilorin. From Ilorin, I came back to Lagos. From Lagos, I came up to Abuja and worked in several units here in Abuja, and most often as a special assistant to several comptrollers generals. I left Abuja, I went on to Enugu. From Enugu, I went to the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, came to Kano, came back to Abuja again, went back to Kano as comptroller 2 times before I was promoted as Assistant Comptroller General of Immigration. I worked in admin and I worked in state coordination. So you can see from the background that I have gone through all the regions of Nigeria. I've gone through most of the schedules that we cover as immigration officers, and I feel like most of my other colleagues that we are well prepared to deliver service to Nigerians too. But we are going to develop and make sure passport issuance is much more comfortable to Nigerians. Part of those reasons are what I have been trying to put in place. We're trying to get new equipment, and so that or more, like you go to a passport office, you don't have to stay for 10 hours before you get acquired. We are acquiring more cameras, newer cameras for people. And we are going to install passenger, let's say customer-friendly equipment. You come in, you take your number electronically, you wait, you see your number on the screen, you go to camera 2, go to camera 1. We've got those equipment to make service better for all Nigerians. And all the equipment that are going to be renewed, it started in 2007. They are aging, we are replacing them. And you get the passports produced well before the 72 hours that you are supposed to get. That is what we want to deliver to Nigerians, and I can guarantee you will do so.
Now, how about your foreign offices? Has the challenge of the issuance or even the renewal of passports been rectified?
We have passport issuing equipment in some embassies now, well about 15, and we're adding more and more to different countries. And you would notice too that in those countries where there are no passport issuing equipment, we have been sending what we call intervention teams to those areas. Even in some countries, take America for instance, the office is in Atlanta. We have one in Atlanta. We have one in New York. We have one in Washington D.C. People would have to travel for long distances before. Assuming you are from California, you are not taken care of, and it's way far away. So we have to send teams to those areas. In Canada, we have Ottawa, but if you are far off from Ottawa, what do? We have to go to you. And Mr. President has been so good to support this program of intervention so that we engage Nigerians in diaspora, take services to them at their doorsteps, because they work in those countries. A day for them, leaving their jobs is really something they cannot afford. They could be sacked. So we send in the intervention teams severally, and they have gone around all over the world, Russia, Asia, America, South Africa, all over the Arab world. We've been issuing passports on intervention basis to these Nigerians. We intend to continue to give this service even better.
Now, Mr. Paradang, one other challenge you met on ground, with your resumption as the Comptroller General is the issue of security. we know that that's a very big issue, not just in Nigeria, but in several other parts of the world. But from your vantage position, as the head of the NIS, what do you intend to do, to ensure that we tackle the issue of security head-on, as it affects the immigration service?
Oh, sure. We have a mandate. Our mandate is to look at the contribution, or to look at foreigners in our midst, their own, what they can, how their activities can affect our security as a country. And for us, that is why we came out with the policies we have for security. It starts from the entry points, that's the borders. And we know by our studies all over the world that no border is watertight. All borders, even those who build walls, are not watertight. We have issues of tunnels in Mexico, tunnels in Israel and co. That they come into houses, people come into restaurants, tunnels drive into restaurants, come and have your meal, then they pick the people out and go out with them. Those people should not be allowed to escape checks inland. That is why we say we want to do vigorous internal control and monitoring. Anybody who is serious about his security will make sure that you know all those who are strangers in your household. We want to be sure that everybody that is a non-Nigerian is accounted for. We have information on him. That is my vision. That is my target of where I want to go in terms of internal control. If you escape the borders, which we hope not, but for any reason you escape, we must have information about you inland. We must document you if you came in appropriately. We know where you work, we know where you live, we know who are your sponsors, your employers, we know where you are. We have a card on you. That's where we are going, to make sure we account in our own mandate. Our own mandate concerns non-Nigerians. The SSS have their own mandate, the police have their own mandate, but if all of us collaborate and we do our various bits very well, we can deliver 9.5 to 10 in the scale. I can guarantee you that.
Right, Mr. Paradang, let's even look at another issue I would like to bring to your attention. Recently, you visited Lagos, that's the airport command, to, embark on some kind of an assessment tour to see what actually goes on in that place. What informed your decision? We'll take that, but first let's go on this quick break. It's still question time on Channels Television, and when we come back, he will be speaking more. That's the Comptroller General of the NIS. Please stay with us.
Every day as they happen, opinions arise.
I lost money in Africa. Sanusi said he couldn't care about the shareholder. Is that possible?
For and against, they have to be heard.
The government of this dispensation has made a very strong commitment. Yet, bomb keeps going on every day.
People are dying, and we are talking grammar.
Unfeatured.
You are the worst advertisement of the product you are trying to pitch.
Uninhibited.
People are contravening and contradicting traffic rules.
Issues are laid bare.
This is what is called in psychology narcissism. Is worse than megalomania.
And the weight decided by you. Face Off, Wednesdays 8 to 9 p.m. only on Channels Television.
Welcome back. You're still watching Channels Television. The program definitely is a question time. Mr. David Paradang, the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, is still here with us, and we've been really having a wonderful time looking at his rise as the Comptroller General of the NIS and some of the things that he's been doing so far. Now, before we went on the break, I asked you, or wanted to find out from you, what actually led to your decision to visit the airport command in Lagos. So what can you tell us about that?
My premium reason for going to visit the airport command is to look at what happens in our private terminals where the private aircraft come in. Security reports tell us that that is a weak link in the whole system, that some of the people that use private jets, when they alight from the aircraft, they prefer to be driven off straight from the aircraft, come off the aircraft to a waiting car, and they don't normally wish to subject themselves to immigration procedures. The immigration law says very categorically that if you arrive even at a point that is not covered by, that is not a control point, where you don't have immigration officers, it is your responsibility to present yourself to the nearest immigration control post. It is not your responsibility to come into your car and drive off. So I went to check to see whether this is being done and to reinforce the fact that we should apply that law religiously. You know, Ayo, that the airport in Lagos is the premium entry point to Nigeria. It's the face of Nigeria. Anybody coming to Nigeria would know what kind of country we operate from there. Are we serious-minded people? Are we people that are desirous of bringing investment in? Are we people that are conscious of our security? And I cannot sit here as Comptroller General of Immigration without reinforcing these things. I'm going to check that they are operational. That's why I went to airport in Lagos.
Now, you've been speaking quite extensively on the issue of the manning of our borders. But let's put it this way, still on the manned border issue. Are we really going to have an effective manning of our borders? Talking about the introduction of the automated entry and exit points. What can you say about this?
Thank you very much. And this is an issue really that we wish this interview were conducted at one of our border posts. You would see what we are asking government to help us achieve. Go to the average border post in Nigeria, and it will paint for you a picture of what happens in a village motor park. There is no structure. You will see, if you see a drum here and a stick there, that would be a good one. The best ones, they have thatched roofs. I'm telling you, some have thatched roofs, except for Idireko, Seme, the big ones that have buildings that are aged. We want to introduce, and government had already approved that there will be automated border plazas. The process has started to make it a PPP arrangement that will build standard automated border plazas in 3 phases. We have the mega ones. We have the medium ones and the small ones. We'll have mega ones in like Seme, Idiroko, Babamutum, Ilela, Mfum. We'll have big ones like that there. Then we have the mega ones, like medium ones in Megatri, like the small border posts, Sein and Co. We have different small ones in those places. We want to, on a PPP basis, and you pass through. It will house all security agencies. It will have scanners on. It will have monitors too, for if anything, radar monitor. So if there are movements, it can be picked. We are heading towards that direction.
But it's a bit strange that even with a country such as ours, for several years we've gone on as a nation, and we're still having this challenge, being posed by the lack of the automated entry and exit points in this day and age. As a Comptroller General, what do you think is responsible for this?
Thank you very much. Like I told you a little bit earlier, it's about the men. If you have people who, before now, things were taken for granted, but no longer, we have to use our brains now. And I tell you, there's no better age for Nigeria than now. We have well-trained people. We have educated people. Before, maybe the average immigration officer would be a school cert or a teacher's certificate, but before now, the minimum we have must be a diploma, minimum. And these are people that have been through the best, and we have been engaged in several trainings by other agencies, inter-service cooperation. We have been to several countries. We have the ideas. The age of information is on. We have to see what is the best practice globally and implement them. So yeah, it's something that is a developmental issue, and now is the time. And I think we're at the right time. We should cross the boundary.
Now, for all it's worth, we can't rule out the possibility or the fact that anywhere in the world, the issue of immigration service is something that really, really needs to be effectively carried out. And what am I talking about? That's the issue of best practices, global best practices, anywhere in the world. As it concerns Nigeria, what do you intend to bring to the table, to ensure that officers or staff and personnel measure up with their counterparts in other parts of the world? What collaborative efforts are you bringing to the table here?
Immigration practice globally depends on collaboration with other countries, and we do get to receive assistance from them. We have severally received document fraud training from different countries of the world. in trying to make sure that we give a uniform standard globally of best practices. We have with Netherlands, with Spain, with Germany, with the UK, with US, they train several of our officers on document fraud. Some are coordinated by IOM, and they have even built up for us document fraud laboratories here in the headquarters in Abuja here, at Lagos, that people can check documents, passports particularly, to see whether they are forged or they have been tampered with. But apart from these trainings too, we want to make sure we have among the best global standards, best practice globally. And in terms of electronic passenger registration systems at the airport, we are up to what happens in any airport in the world now. We have such equipment in all the 4 international airports in Nigeria. We have in Abuja here, we have at Kano, we have in Port Harcourt, we have at Lagos. What you can see in an average airport in the UK, in the US, you present your passport before an immigration officer, he passes it through a scanner, it takes your information, sends it to the database. If you are clear, nothing shows up, nothing pops up. If you are on the database as having a problem, we call you aside and try to verify all those things. That is the global best practice that we are implementing. And we are going to extend that to the land borders too. So we are heading towards that direction. This is what is happening. And that's a very key thing for us in Nigeria. This electronic passenger registration system that we have already installed has helped severally. We can generate information about your movement now. We want to know how many times you have traveled out of Nigeria in a week or in a year, 2013, 2012. At the touch of a button, we supplied. And these things have a very significant security importance. We would like to know where you are going. We would like to know whether you are going to areas of threat. We'd like to know whether you are going to areas that are centers for drugs. We'd like to know whether you are going for areas where there are terrorist training camps. You can generate such information about where you are going, and with your pictures and everything on it. So we are among the best of the best in that area.
Mr. Paradang, can you tell us what are the new additions to the new visa policy? The expatriate quota, and of course the issue with the Chinese business men and women. Quite a lot has been said about them and their activities.
The new visa policy had the objective of attracting foreign investment to the country. We want to make sure that Nigeria is a destination, a preferred destination for direct foreign investment by making our processes more friendly, more acceptable, that can guarantee you coming to the country. We want to make sure that we are a destination for tourism. We want to assure people globally that we are a secure destination for people to come in. The new additions are targeted at these areas. Now, for direct foreign investment, we made provisions, like let's say sweet provisions for investors. We want to get those people to come into Nigeria by our new visa policy. But the total package of all this will depend. People will only come to your country if they are sure it's a secure destination. We don't want to open the gates for just anybody. So the first thing we did in the visa policy was to build a database. We have a database of people that are admissible and not admissible electronically. So we started with that. Then we are open now. We've been receiving people who are businessmen in the new visa policy, and the reports are very encouraging.
Now, obviously, we can't forget the National Assembly members. Since you came on board, I'm sure you must have had 1 or 2 dealings with them, in trying to tell them what exactly is going on within the Nigerian Immigration Service. Can you let us into the relationship you have with them? Are there challenges that you have been opportune to discuss with them, and if so, what are the assurances you've gotten from them?
Yeah, the National Assembly, they are our supervisors. Most of them have an interior, and generally we engage positively and often with all of them. They want to see that the country is run according to laws, which is something that is mutually beneficial to all of us. We've been to several of the invitations they have given to us. They have come here for oversight functions, and we are engaging them too, because the law is the basis for everything that you must do. If you do it outside the law, you are not going to achieve any purpose. We realized that, and the National Assembly, we went to them, Mr. President sent an executive bill to them about the Nigerian Immigration Service, the new immigration bill that we have gone through public hearing, gone through committee readings and what have you, that we hope they will pass when they resume from recess. We engage very positively and constructively with them, and we have no problem with our relationship with them at all. We want to ask them to support us in our programs by getting more funding for us to be able to do our jobs better.
Now, Mr. Paradang, it's been like 3 months since you came on board as the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service. And I wonder, with your busy schedule, having to work almost on a daily basis, how do you still cope with the family life, members of the family? How do they react, to your everyday, should I say, running around, when you have to do what is needed to be done?
It's not the same again, definitely not the same again. And it has changed. I'm essentially a very private person that likes to be with my wife and children. But now, even if I go home, I have a lot of work doing. I'm picking calls, I'm doing the paperwork, and but I enjoy Saturdays. I devote it totally to my family. I have a lazy breakfast with them, chat with them, and take that day. If I have any work to do in the evening, I'll go to do it. But I try to give time because I must go back to them after this job. And they're very key to the success of the whole venture. If I don't have a good home, certainly I cannot produce. And I enjoy my home. I like it.
Well, I guess that's all our time will permit us. Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Mr. David Paradang. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
I really appreciate this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Let's partner together to make Nigeria a better society.
The road to having an effective Nigerian Immigration Service is one that will certainly require the professionalism of the Comptroller General and his entire team. The service, which was born in 1963 by an Act of Parliament, is in dire need of repositioning, no doubt, that will serve the interests of Nigerians and foreigners in the country alike. Hopefully, officers and men of the service will continue to do the nation proud in terms of keeping our borders safe and ensuring that, most importantly, illegal immigrants residing in Nigeria will be flushed out. That's our package for this week. Remember to send us your questions, comments and suggestions to questiontime@channelstv.com, or you can watch online as well, also via channelstv.com. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Until next week, it's bye for now.